only one thing, and that's to bring peace. That's to bring peace in this conflict and protect fellow Americans, right? So, what's the burden that we have to prove to you to win today's debate? And most likely will come up inside opposition as their main claim. It will be that returning these 5,000 Taliban prisoners is a bad thing. The moment we prove this to you, and the moment we prove that this deal is actually beneficial to both parties, we automatically win today's debate. So we support the motion as we believe it's in the best interest of both parties. It brings peace and saves lives. So ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, what's the problem that exists on side opposition? Is that consistent war and conflict will continue between these two states if this argument is if this document is not signed, right? So what do I mean by this? I mean that first of all, Americans are dying on a daily basis, and this has been going on for 20 years. Taliban soldiers are dying on a daily basis. What does this mean? It means that there's a build-up of anger and a build-up of hatred towards both parties against each other, which means the longer this continues, the harder this conflict is to solve. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, let's go on to talk about who the stakeholders in today's debate are. Number one, the first stakeholder is the Taliban, the second stakeholder is the United States. With that being said, let's just do some characterization onto what's really going on. Right? So what's going on right now? To make it clear, American troops are in Afghanistan, helping Afghanistan help the Taliban, who's waging war within Afghanistan to gain political power, right? Now, with that being said, let's move on into who the Taliban is and what they really want. The Taliban is a Sunni extremist group, right? They're a group who are an ideology of extreme Islam, and they are widely practiced and believed in their region, right? They are built on violence and playing the religious card, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let me state this keyword here. They are an ideology, and I'll go on to talk about why this really wins is the case, right? So what do they want? They want political power and to grow as a group. Now we'll talk about why on our side we are able to take this political power against them by at the same time keeping them quiet and not creating more conflict, right? Now, what does the United States want, ladies and gentlemen? The United States has a few priorities, and let's take them out. Number one, as the United States government, their priority is the safety of their people. Number two is to bring peace and protect their nation and Afghanistan too, right? Because Afghanistan is their ally. And number three is to protect their finances in terms of war. Now we know that from previous instances, war has been extremely taxing on America as a state, right? Like the Iranian war, which cost them a total of $2 trillion, with a country that's already in ridiculous debt. As America, it's important to seek that they solve this conflict because this economical tax that comes from this war is not only hurting their country's economy, but their people as well. And that links back to the main priority of theirs, their people. So, what are they trying to do here? They want to see American soldiers recognize, ladies and gentlemen, that American soldiers are dying on a daily basis in Afghanistan as a result of the Taliban, right? They are being killed, their families are being left without fathers, right? A lot of time, or without a brother, without a son, right? Secondly, they want to reduce terrorism towards America. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, this conflict does not only mean terrorism within the Taliban, but it also means terrorism within American embassy groups, and it also means terrorism within the American homeland. This is extremely detrimental to America and their society because they are putting their people at risk. Again, tying to their main priority, their people. Lastly, I talked about why they're doing this to protect the American economy, right? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me move into my first argument, and that's that it's almost an unnecessary and lost cause to fight this war anyway. Why? It's because number one, just imagine right, US and Taliban. And US fights Taliban, and they take all their military at Taliban. They absolutely obliterate Taliban. Although they do face casualties, Taliban's no match for their military power. Why? Taliban's underfunded in comparison to the US. They have less military ground force, and they have worse military technology. Now, ladies and gentlemen, US literally crushes Taliban, destroys them, blows up their bases, like every time, right? What's the problem? Taliban is an ideology. That's the biggest problem, ladies and gentlemen. The Taliban is not an army of 1 million people that you can shoot down and immediately determine that you've defeated them. I've killed the Taliban. No. The Taliban is an ideology that lives not only within people within that region, but all over the world. Now, what's the bad thing about this, ladies and gentlemen, is that the weaker the Taliban is, the more incentivized these individuals are to actually go and join the Taliban. Why is that? It's because these individuals have faith in their belief, and these individuals see like their religion, for example, that's how they see it as weak, and they have to protect it. Therefore, these individuals go back. So let me just give you like this really quick an analogy, right, ladies and gentlemen. Taliban is like a cockroach, right? You whack it one time, then die. Then suddenly you come back, you whack it again, then come back, then you're like, oh shit, you know, this cockroach is like that, now you say like, okay, I'm gonna deal with you, right? Okay, you just don't kacau me, I'll kacau you. Then both will go away. So you see, that's what you guys are trying to do, because essentially this war just increases conflict and doesn't solve anything. There's no end point to this war. The end to this war is that it just keeps continuing on, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's why you can't defeat the Taliban. And the harms of this, number one, American soldiers die. Number two, conflict gets worse. Number three, it's taxing on both parties, right? Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I like to go into my final argument of the day, right? And that is my trade-off argument. And it's probably the biggest pre-battle and the contention that the main clash will occur in today's debate. And that's that, is it justified to return these 5,000 prisoners from in US captivity back to the Taliban? Well, yes, we do agree that may not be principally justified because most of these individuals recognize, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of which are followers of the Taliban group, and also most of these individuals are individuals who are many of which war criminals. But what are America's priorities? Let me go back to this, right? America's priorities are their people above anything else. And if this conflict continues, their people and their state is hurt, right? So they have to prioritize protecting their people. So even if it's not principally justified, it's still justified because their main priority is their people. Nothing comes before that, ladies and gentlemen. And then they go, wait, you know what's going to happen? Taliban's going to, from this, what Taliban's going to do is it's going to attack within Afghanistan, or it's going to attack other nations as it gains things like political power. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you why this won't happen, right? Because they say like things like sanctions will be taken off the Taliban, things the Taliban really needs to be taken off, because Taliban's really being destroyed by UN sanctions and like literally the whole world like against them, right? So now what if they come back and say, oh, but like, oh, you know what, the Taliban's going to like attack other nations as they gain more power slowly, as they gain more money to develop weapons, now a lot of sanctions are off? No. You know why this won't happen? Because Taliban's not stupid, right? Because think about it, ladies and gentlemen, if they attack any other country, what is the UN's job? UN's job is immediately to impose sanctions. That doesn't affect this agreement anymore, right? The UN's job is immediately to solve this conflict, which means impose sanctions, and literally the whole world will be against the Taliban again, because all countries, like progressive countries in the world, shun a group like the Taliban. And because of that, ladies and gentlemen, on our side, we solve this issue because we bring back greater prosperity for both nations without harming either party, as opposed to the other side. I would like to see your response from them. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. I now invite the opposition to begin the case for silence.
Very problematic, like how they focus mainly on the piece of the government, but they forgot the citizens of Afghanistan. They say themselves that they are ideology, they are radical and stuff like that. So let's talk about the stakeholders of today's debate, right? So citizens of Afghanistan, the military people or soldiers, and government between US and also Afghanistan, right? So first thing, we all know that Taliban's goal is to take over Afghanistan, right? Because that's what they want. They want to make it like Afghanistan into the world's purest Islamic country, right? So that's their main goal. So I think that after they agree with this Doha Agreement, right? So they for sure they will invade like Afghanistan and form like how they did way before US invade Afghanistan, right? So I think it will happen again. So let me tell you why US invade Afghanistan, right? Because US think like they give camp for Al Qaeda, right? So they wanted like them to give Al Qaeda back to them, and they were like, no, we won't give Al Qaeda to you. So that's why US invaded Afghanistan in the first place, right? So I think it really like show how Al Qaeda is very, very problematic and very, very extreme information. No, thank you. And stuff like that. So let's talk about the trade-off of our debate. So we're okay like for our side to the casualties of the war. We're okay with people dying all the time. Because I feel like that's the job of the soldiers to actually protect for their country, and they sign up for it. They know they will die if they fight for it. So I think that will be my trade-off of today. And the second of cost of war. We know like war costs a lot of money, and we think we are okay with it as long as the citizens of Afghanistan, the one that we're going to talk about later, is much more important. So let's talk about Taliban's ideology. So no, thank you. So they want to restore peace, security, and force their own version of Sharia Islamic law, right? I think it's very problematic. I'm gonna say it later in my argument later. So let's talk about ideology of Taliban. So they torture the citizens of Afghanistan. So why is it true? So like I said just now, their goal is Afghanistan into the world's purest Islamic country. So that will happen if US agree with that, right? No, thank you. So, like they said, they are willing to sacrifice anything just to ensure that they can achieve the goal, just to ensure that they can make it happen. So I think it's bad for the citizens of Afghanistan to actually suffer from this thing. And I think that why is it bad? Because we know that before US invaded Afghanistan, right? So they believe that women cannot go to school, cannot get employed, they ban makeup, kite flying, films. Like, just listen to that. Imagine you cannot watch films throughout your whole life because the man in power say you cannot do so. It's very, very problematic, and imagine like how suffering they have to survive, like how they suffered throughout their everyday lives. No, thank you. And I think like if we let it happen, right? So we actually like literally have people of Afghanistan, the citizens of Afghanistan, literally have to suffer throughout their whole lives. So how do people get to enjoy like I said just now? I feel like it's very problematic for the side of government to actually ignore how citizens of Afghanistan will feel like if they agree to this agreement, right? So second of all, no, thank you. So Taliban is extreme, like how their ideology harms human rights and culture, right? So let's talk about like the 2001 when Taliban went ahead with the destruction of Bamiyan Buddha, right? Because they think like, oh, we only accept Islam in our country, so that's why we wanted to destroy Bamiyan Buddha, right? Because they just don't believe in other religions, right? So that will happen on their side. So people of Afghanistan won't have the chance to actually go on with their culture, with their own beliefs, because these people think they can only accept Islam in the first place. No, thank you. So, and I think another problematic reason, right? Because you know when they in charge of Afghanistan, they say like men are required to go beard, and also women have to wear all covering burqa. I think it's very bad like how the side of government failed to acknowledge like how Afghanistan people, especially women, will feel about it. Like how women are oppressed because of this Taliban, because they don't give the same rights towards the women over there, right? Yeah, sure.
How does your benefits of like freedom of rights materialize when the people who could claim these freedoms are now dead in your world?
We're not dead, they're still there. Again?
How is it that you claim the benefits of having freedom of rights, or freedom of choice, or freedom of watching films when the people in your world that could claim those potential freedoms are now dead?
Yeah, they're dead now, but later if they can do the same thing over and over again. They can invade Afghanistan after that, so they'll do exactly the same thing. So I mean like maybe like the meaning of peace on our side and your side is much different, like how you care about the peace of your military and how our peace of Afghanistan is very different, right? So I think like it's only like right how we actually acknowledge the citizens of Afghanistan, right? And because like and stuff like that. And let's talk about the citizens of the US. Like I said just now, they invaded Afghanistan because of the 9/11, right? So the thing is, because of 9/11, right? So obviously, like these victims will be like, oh, I want them to suffer like how I suffer, right? So I think it's only justified for them to like keep invading Taliban, keep invading Afghanistan, right? So, and what kind of people comply with terrorists? This shows that how US only cares about their own interests and they do not care about other people's interests. And what do we want to achieve after this, right? Okay, what we achieve after this debate? So we achieve that which side has more damage, which is your side, because we let them invade Afghanistan to proceed with their first and main goal and their main ideology, right? And also like the meaning of peace on our side. And let's not forget how they are so into Islamic Sharia law that they actually like make people like amputation for those who found guilty of the theft. So we are very sure that how this will happen on their side if they actually agree with the Doha Agreement. And with that, I rest my case.
For a speech, I now invite them to Tanish.
I think up until now, the leader of opposition hasn't proved to you how not celebrating the Doha Agreement immediately changes the lives of all the individuals in the ground of Afghanistan. It is true that these individuals are suffering, and it's a shame that these individuals suffer due to these reasons, but I think not celebrating the Doha Agreement doesn't necessarily change anything on the ground, and I don't think this debate should be about it. I have 3 points of rebuttals before strengthening the arguments and giving you new levels of analysis. The first idea of how people are dying, and she wants to legitimize this by just saying that these are soldiers' jobs. How are you going to defend people dying and say that, oh, these people consented to dying because they consented to being in the army? I don't think this generally makes sense. I don't think anyone wants to die to just simple reasons as when you can make peace out of the agreement. I think it's far easier for you to make peace so you save the lives of individuals. I think we are the side that caring more about Afghanistan based on that principle in of itself. The second thing that I wanted to tell you is how Taliban is going to take over Afghanistan because now there's no US soldiers there anymore. I think it's very clear from Varun's speech that even if you take out every single member of the Taliban ideology will still be there. So even if you kill all the individuals who are working for the Taliban and were attacking the US, the ideology will be still there. That means that if one individual just says that I believe in that ideology, he can still preach that ideology to other individuals, and therefore the Taliban will be recreated in Afghanistan. You can't change that under your side of the house. The least you could do is at least protect other individuals from getting hurt from this Taliban organization, so that we can stop attacks and stop wars. At least we get to save some form of individuals on the outside of the house. The argument that Varun told you was something that was unrebutted to and just I'll say blindly accepted to by leader of opposition. When Varun tells you that Taliban is necessarily an ideology and not really the people of it that are controlling the Taliban organization. This means that no matter how much you try in order to stop the Taliban, it doesn't necessarily work because people in the future can recreate the Taliban in order to attack the US army even more. I think what we do is we explicitly provide you a benefit towards US citizens and towards the whole world in general by saying that it's okay if the Taliban organization is recreated. At least they won't be able to fight any more individuals, and at least there will be less individuals who will die outside of the house, as opposed to your side. I think it's very difficult for you to just say that all these individuals will die and that's fine because they consented to it, because it really means that you're fighting a lost cause, because you're necessarily A, not going to win, because you're just simply underfunded and you don't have enough individuals in order to fight for that army, but B, even if you win that fight, it doesn't necessarily matter because the Taliban will continue growing, and the harms that from what happens there is the same harms that happens under your side of the house. Anyway, I don't think they brought to you a sufficient enough benefit as to say that if you don't celebrate the Doha Agreement, necessarily everything in Afghanistan will change and individuals there will live better lives. But the second argument we told you is that it's so much better to create peace than to create more war. Recognize that US already Taliban already is going to lose this war if they take into it. US is a very powerful country who has a lot of control as to what kind of weapon they can use, like nuclear weapons, fighting this. They have more soldiers. There are more soldiers as to how they can fight the Taliban, but I think this necessarily means that if the Taliban goes against the US, they will necessarily lose in the first place. I think for the Taliban, it's more strategic for them to just stay down and just not attack. We're not saying the Taliban are necessarily good people, but we're saying that as long as we can save the lives of these individuals, it's far better on the outside of the house. But before I continue, sure.
So you said that the more weaker, your point is that it's an ideology, and the more weaker it is, the more people will join. But is it if the Taliban grows stronger, then won't there'll be more people who join compared to when it was weaker?
Let's clarify. So even if the Taliban gets stronger and more individuals join, it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. So sure, there's more individuals in the Taliban, but that also means that more individuals cannot fight against other states, because that means that remove sanctions, increase sanctions and all this, right? That's already an incentive for Taliban to just stay low and not attack other individuals, because attacking other individuals means bad things on their side, which is already stated inside the Doha Agreement. So even if there are more individuals in the Taliban and there's more the terrorist organization in Afghanistan is growing, they can't necessarily do anything with that power, and they can't necessarily do anything with all those individuals that wanted to join, because if they want to fight against the US and betray the Doha Agreement, I think the US can do the same, and I think that's one that's justified because the Afghanistan broke it first, or the Taliban broke it first. I think it's fair when you give the opportunity for Taliban to choose as to whether or not they want to remove all that sanctions. in order to create peace in that country, and I think it's far better for them to do so, because necessarily they will always grow as an ideology, and you can't necessarily stop them from doing so because they're just radical individuals. So even if it's true that more individuals join the Taliban, there is not necessarily an explicit harm of them hurting the United States or hurting other countries in general, because they simply don't have an incentive to do so, but they also don't want to increase the sanctions that were already placed on them. I think for US it's also very strategic, because recognize that when you have an agreement with one of the largest terrorist organizations in the Middle East, that also means that there's less attacks on you. So the whole 9/11 argument they wanted to bring up was actually done by Al-Qaeda. They're not the same terrorist organization. But another thing is that there are less terrorist attacks on the United States. So this means that the people of the United States are one that's safer, because they feel there's one less terrorist organization that will attack them. So even if there are more Taliban individuals in Afghanistan, and that the power of the terrorist organization is higher, they can't necessarily attack anything, because unless they want to get rid of the agreement. I think the agreement is a safety net, is to say that individuals will not do this unless they want to get rid of to increase all that sanctions, and in order to add more sanctions onto them. I think for the economy of Afghanistan, Taliban is also incentivized not to do so, because they necessarily also they are also a political party who also wants to be in power. I think it's better for the Taliban to just not attack anymore. I think if we can guarantee you that more lives are safe, we should automatically take this debate. And I don't think it's fair for them to say that it's okay for this Taliban to continuously attack the US if that means losing, because they think that individuals dying is something that's legitimate and is justified. I think it's harder on the side of opposition to prove that the United States should just be, in general, just a safer country from one less terrorist organization, and the people of Afghanistan is much more safer. I think under our side of the house, we provide you this alternative in order to show that you can actually keep low and not attack other individuals. It doesn't matter if you're a bad person or a bad organization, as long as you're not hurting other individuals or killing their lives. I think for all those reasons, never been proud to propose.
Thank you for that speech. I'd like the leader of opposition.
The main problem with side government is they've conceded to the fact that Taliban ideology will always be prevalent. There will always be, it will exist no matter, regardless of what actions are being taken against them. I think that is the main problem with their speech, because I think it contradicts what they're trying to propose to you. So today what I'll talk to you is I'm going to respond to what they've said about how the Taliban ideology could be recreated in an ideal scenario, and I also mentioned the fact about how the Taliban prisoners were allowed to go back free. So one of the things they mentioned is that how that it can be recreated, because these are a group of people, more so that have an ideology rather than a group of people who are just a military organization. But I think it's more likely for this Taliban ideology to be recreated in a form where they can cause more harm to people there anyway, because I think there's when you remove the structure where the US has influence in the region anyway, I think it's more likely for these people to continue to spread their belief, in which can cause more harm, because it's been historically proven that it has. But yeah, sure.
Okay, so under both sides of the house, Taliban can continuously grow because of its ideology. Why is it then better under your side of the house, when we provide you a safer world where these individuals can't fight back?
I think that because what we do under our side is, the only reason why the Taliban is growing as strong as it is, and I think because of the sheer number of people that are involved in this ideology anyway, which creates structures where these people can continue to spread the ideology within the group itself. But I think it's because it happens so much worse on side government, because because of these people that return back to the Taliban grounds in the first place, and also because you don't create a ceiling, right? Because I think when you remove the fact that US soldiers don't have influence to keep a check inside the region in the first place, I think you allow this ideology to continue to spread, whether that is in the region or out of the region. I think there's you just allow it to continue to grow, and that will cause harm, whether it's in the region or out of the region, because they really stick to the fact that it is an ideology more so than just a group of people. But no, thank you. I think it's also important to recognize that I think the Taliban harm is more likely to be removed removed in the first place, if these support structures that I mentioned to you that exist in the form of people having like very organized groups in the Taliban, because we have to recognize that one of their aims, their incentives in part of this deal is to gain more political power in the region. And when they do so, I think one of the things that happens is that they allow to have more like control of what exactly occurs to the region, right? Because you also have these Taliban prisoners that have committed like crimes in the first place. You allow them to go back, and I don't see why exactly it's unlikely for these people to just return and cause less harm, because I think that the structure in which you allow people to have more harm still exists within like the Taliban society. But I think because you allow the Taliban to continue to grow, I think you also increase the chances of harm. No, thank you. Or like occurring outside of the region itself, because I think that more people like agree to the fact that the Taliban ideology is something that they look up to, which when it happens outside of the region, I think you have less control of it, because now you remove the fact that there are US troops first in the region of Afghanistan and outside of it, like far away, because they've already considered the fact that it is a global network. So I think more harm will be caused under their side for the following reasons. I think A, because now the structure which like Taliban troops cause more harm is still prevalent on their side, because we have to recognize that these radical beliefs that allow radical actions to take place, that have been taking place for a long time. I think when you have more resources due to things like the removal of sanctions in this place, I think it's more likely for people to act on the fact that they now they can cause more harm, because there's nothing like stopping them. Because I think it's quite likely for the Taliban people to want to cause this anyway, because now there are more people, they're given more freedom, like politically within the region itself, meaning they have more control of more things. So I think that they'll be able to influence the region even more than they had before, because now the political power that they have, the control they have, the influence they have is increased. So allowing more harm to like continue that. But sure.
Yeah, but you see, like a lot of these Taliban individuals might like invade other regions in Afghanistan. But might I remind you, other regions in the Middle East also have US troops in them. What's your response to this?
I think the way that US troops are in the Afghanistan region itself, I think that provides much more stability and more security to those regions anyway. Because when you control it within the country itself, I think the control they have is more efficient, and also because you even prevent the chance of them being able to escape and cause more further harm, because everything is being there's oversight of US troops, which is important, because then you allow this harm to be controlled, you allow to see what's happening, and you're able to predict future actions taken by the Taliban, which I think that when you allow the return of these prisoners back to the region, I think you allow more unpredictably to occur, because you don't know what's happening, and also because of the removal of the US soldiers in the first place. I think that the people of Afghanistan are protected more on the outside anyway, because when you remove the influence that the Taliban will have under their side, I think the harm to the people of Afghanistan and the harm that the people of Afghanistan can cause to each other, I think that is lessened as well. I think that is something we have to recognize. The Taliban are very persistent on progressing their beliefs, right? And you spread that belief continuously. I think that allows that. Especially when they're at a point which they have lots of political power, I think it's more likely for these people to consider joining Taliban ideology and continue to spread it more, because I think the more people that are inside there, I think the more people that can spread the ideology and continue to cause harm in each other. So I think that the people of Afghanistan will be more protected on the outside, and I think that the US in general is able to recognize more of the affairs that's happening within the country, and also because outside of the region they still have more oversight over these things anyway. So I think the US has the advantage of being able to control the possibilities of any harm occurring from the cause of Taliban ideology spreading and causing harm, but also because now it's able to have oversight to take action that may prevent any future occurrences from causing more harm to the people of Afghanistan and people in the surrounding regions. And for these reasons, side with side opposition. Thank you.
For that speech, Governor Wesley.
think the mischaracterizations and the misunderstanding of characterizations that's coming from side oppositions are both grossly inappropriate and actually laughable to the point of what they actually think this debate is about. So first, let me go into the characterization of the Taliban. Yes, the Taliban aren't good people, but I think the extreme demonization of them that's coming from side oppositions clearly shows that they probably didn't read the info slide very carefully. This is why. The info slide clearly states that the Taliban wants political power and have insinuated the fact that they are willing to lay down their arms if they are given such political power in the Afghanistan state. Therefore, in the event that we give them the chance to negotiate properly with the Afghan government, if we stop shooting at them, then maybe, more likely on the outside of the house, they are willing to lay down these arms to get the political power so they can stop fighting. So in peace, it is likely to more happen on the outside compared to yours, regardless of whatever your growth expansion of Taliban could possibly give. And this is why your characterization or your misunderstanding of the characterization of the Taliban severely impacts both your cases under PM and the LO and DO. But next, the mischaracterization of who the US troops are. So in DPM, in Umar's speech, there was a lot of things about how the US influence there is good and that it will prevent spreading and it will provide expansionism. I think that is a severe mischaracterization of what US troops do there and what US troops actually are. I think that was supposedly intuitive in this debate, but clearly side opposition doesn't understand it. So let me clearly characterize it for you. US troops don't stand there and wait for Taliban to start shooting, then only they shoot. US troops aren't there to just stand there and be peacekeepers and just walk around doing patrols until the Taliban start shooting them. US troops in Afghanistan are actively trying to kill Taliban people because they are actively at war. This is what war looks like, ladies and gentlemen. War does not look like standing there waiting for you to shoot me first, then I shoot you. We have learned that of the mistakes of World War II when France tried to do that. I don't think this is what the US is doing in Afghanistan right now. So because the mischaracterization of US troops, this leads to my rebuttals that don't really fit in my clashes. First, it always coming from DPM. The spreading of Taliban ideology to the rest of the Middle Eastern region, we've already proven to you why that the spreading ideology or the growth of the Taliban is severely better on outside, but I'll get to that later. We already said that US troops do not exist solely in Afghanistan. It's not like every US troop just in the Middle East, it's just in Afghanistan, and that once this agreement is signed, or once the agreement is signed, all the US troops will suddenly disappear from the Middle East. That's not the case. US troops do exist in Iraq, in Syria, in Iraq. The US troops still exist there. So in your expansionism, when the Taliban tries to expand out, we say it's far better than our world because in our world, US troops still can control them in other countries. We are just saying that they should not be in Afghanistan because the Taliban does not want, the Taliban wants the political power in order to lay down their arms in Afghanistan. So if we want to argue about the spreading, we say spreading happens on both sides. In your side it happens far worse, and our side, both sides have proper control. And next, DPM I said about how the US influence is better and how the structures is it. To this point in the debate, I have no idea how that's possible. Like they give you the outcomes and give you the premise that like the US influence is better. They give you the outcomes, therefore all this will become good. But there was no process in the middle of how the US influence actually makes the structures, how the US structures actually exist, and how they actually control the Taliban within the government. So because of this lack of process, it's finally very hard to respond to it. I'm going to do it the best I can. The US structures still exist around, so the spread of the Taliban still is better controlled under our side. So finally, let me bring it to the main issues and clashes of the debate. 3 things. First, who better helps the people? Secondly, who better stops war? And thirdly, is prisoner trading worth it? Which I don't think they engage that at all, because we're trying to be very fair to them, but fine. Let's go. First, who better helps the people on the ground? What Op says is, oh, do you know how much these people are suffering here? They are suffering because they do not have rights under the Taliban government, and the Taliban apparently invaded Afghanistan. Taliban was a part of Afghanistan. It's part of the political party in Afghanistan, but it doesn't matter. Apparently the Taliban invaded Afghanistan and all these people are suppressed because they have no rights. And on the other side of the house, people will have freedom of rights and everything. Okay, on the other side of the house, maybe people have freedom of rights. Maybe people can watch the really nice American film. But I don't think there are any benefits to claim when the people that are supposed to claim the benefits under your side of the house are dead. And outside the house, it's more likely for the people to be alive. And granted, we might not have the same benefits, we might not have a lot of these benefits, but at least the people still live. And we think that this practical implication of people being alive far outweighs any moral benefit from your freedom or whatever that you guys can possibly bring to this debate. And the thing is, it's not just soldier death, but civilians as well. Tanish already proved to you why it was super convenient for you to just say, oh, it's soldiers to die for their duty, but we need to recognize that civilians die as well. And these civilians die, these are the people that really cannot reap your benefits. So, in soldiers die, then yeah, they can't reap your benefits, but your benefits only cater towards the civilians, and you do not mention the soldiers at all. Like what? How does your side actually help American soldiers? We do not see the comparative at that point. We outside government, however, have given you that with this signing, it prevents war. It prevents more war, and it helps both the civilian casualties and the American people. Granted, both sides of the house, people still die. But on the outside, people die far, far less than in your world. And even though we may not have the benefits of your world, at least we have people alive to exist as a practical implication. Secondly, who better starts war? In Ops world, war still progresses. People still die. They have shown us nothing to show how in their world war suddenly doesn't exist, suddenly magically overnight disappears. And they show that even if there was war, how that's good. We don't see the connection. Varun's really proven to you why the Taliban will expand in both worlds. And then we've really clearly stated why the expansion of Taliban is much, much better on the outside. The reason for that is because we prevent our terrorism. So even if the Taliban expands on our side, which they are unlikely to not, because the Taliban on our side might be more stronger and more economic policies and more political compared to your side where they're weak and people flip to join it. But even if the Taliban expands on both sides, we say we set a ceiling on what they can do. However, in your world there is no ceiling. As the Taliban expands, they can kill US soldiers, they can expand outwards, they can do all the kind of crap that we already said they can't do to the Doha Agreement. So because you did not acknowledge this fact, I think your world severely loses now. And finally, a thing they didn't address, prisoner trading. We waited to bite the bullet that prisoner trading was bad, that we should not have given these 5,000 prisoners. But we said that number one, because we already limit how much the Taliban can exercise its authority, we said that 500 prisoners are okay, but even if they were not, we say we still promote peace because there's still a limited amount of things they can do. So regardless of how these 5,000 prisoners work, it will still be better under God's will. So therefore, what have we proven to you today? We've proven to you that our world looks severely better, with maybe no rights, maybe no benefits, but our people are alive, and that far trumps any arbitrary moral obligation or any arbitrary way that you can possibly bring any benefits to the table. And this is why, if you want to really help people, sign the government.
Okay, so who here in this room takes GCSE history? Who here knows about World War II? Okay, so let me give you a quick story about how World War II started. So there's this policy known as the policy of appeasement, war, known as started by Neville Chamberlain, and that's how they dealt with radical leaders such as Hitler. So what they did was, Hitler was like, hey, I want Poland. And then Neville Chamberlain was like, oh no, we should give them Poland, but I'm too afraid to stand up to them. So you know what, let's just give them what they want. It's like, yeah, if we give them what they want, they will just stop taking it, right? No, that's not how it works, and then eventually it led to World War II. And this is exactly the side that government is proposing. They're basically saying that if we comply to what the Taliban wants, the Taliban will somehow magically ideology, they're just like, you know what, you give us what we want, we're just going to listen to you, we're not going to do anything else. But that's clearly not true. So let's talk about the first thing. So the first thing they do, they talk about trade-off. So there's a trade-off between the civilians and the prisoners and the troops. They are unable to trade off the lives of civilians, and they think that the troops are more important. But here we are going to tell you why the civilians are a more important stakeholder in this scenario, and why it's more worth it. Because it shows that the USA cares. Why does it matter that the USA cares in this conflict? Because it shows that they're not bowing down to a terrorist ideology. Imagine how bad it looks when a big superpower country like the USA is bowing down to terrorist ideology, saying that okay, yeah, maybe it's not that bad, you know. It's alright to comply with this ideology. No, it's horrible. And it's because you shouldn't, a superpower country is supposed to be the way, it's supposed to say that it's unjustifiable to bow down to this ideology, and by bowing down to this ideology, saying to the Taliban, oh, okay, they're kind of agreeing with us, so we'll just go on with what we're doing. It's not going to reduce the terror attacks that are going on. Okay, in which world we have more peace? The peace that we're talking about, signing a piece of paper will not somehow miraculously stop the war. As I already said the Taliban's not going to miraculously just stop attacking them. it's gonna cause people on the ground to suffer more. In their world, apparently it's morally right to sacrifice the lives of civilians. When you have the power and responsibility to protect people who are vulnerable, you say, no, we're not gonna protect you even though we have the power to. Citizens and how does this affect the citizens? How do you say, no thank you. Citizens in the US show that they don't really care about the people on the ground. It shows that the USA is a country that's selfish and that the people to them are disposable. It shows, and imagine like the people who are held captives, the people who have the chance to like be free, be released, and they're apparently back in the Taliban's captivity. It shows that to America that these people are disposable, that America does not really care about the people, and this will cause a lack of trust in the government and a lack of unity. Okay, peace is not the USA bowing down to terrorist group. I think that's what the government is trying to propose. It's like apparently signing this piece of paper, apparently the USA complying with the Taliban's need to gain more political power is peace. But I don't think that's peace. I don't think you sit down. It's sugarcoating the idea of peace. Afghanistan is likely to continue, as I said already, in the policy of appeasement. The more that you give them, the more they will take, and they will not stop. Okay, and then they talked about the ideology. The guy talked about like a cockroach. You smack the cockroach once, the cockroach will not die. You smack it several more times, but like you still live like so. But if you think about it, if you smack the cockroach once and then it doesn't die, but what matters is that you keep stuffing the cockroach, because it doesn't matter that cockroach doesn't die. You need to put on a face of power to show that you're not complying with this ideology, to show that you're persistent, to show that you're not agreeing with these. Thank you. The difference with America still being part of the world shows that America is not buying out to terrorist group. The image of complying with a terrorist organization is horrible, and it shows how the Afghanistan citizens feel. It shows that the West doesn't really care. They don't really care about what's happening in their lives. And the US citizens think like, oh, okay, great. We had a vote and we voted this dude that somehow agrees with the Taliban. So you owe a moral, as I said already, you owe a moral obligation to the people who voted you, to when you have power, you have responsibility, and you have the right to say like, if you're in a vulnerable position and you have the power to remove them from that harm and from that vulnerable position, you did have the responsibility to protect them. Okay, next. So talking about the ideology, how the ideology is not going to die and sit down, shows that you need to show that you don't agree with the Taliban, that you don't comply, even though, yes, that maybe the ideology still live on. Because truth is, ideologies will always live on, but like you need to show that we are not complying with this, we're not agreeing with this. Because by giving up, by just saying, you know what, we're not going to help, you're not going to do anything, you're literally just giving up. You're not even giving the citizens under the Taliban's oppression hope. Because we need to think about what the people under the Taliban's control is going through. They're going through suffering, they're not allowed to go to school. As people know, like the youth activist Malala was shot in the head, and she's not allowed to go to school. And this is the type of oppression that they're living under. And a superpower country such as the United States of America has to respond when they have the power and responsibility to stop people from being in this vulnerable situation. They need to protect them. Okay, Taliban. Okay, why? They said that the Taliban is apparently less likely to attack the United States of America because it's not true. Because logically, if, as I said already, the deal is basically them giving like, hey, it's all right. No, thank you, sit down. To go through with what you stand for, and so the more that you give to them, the more that they will take, and they will still attack regardless. But the difference is when you don't sign this agreement, the difference is that you're not saying that it's okay. You're already saying that it's not okay. But so it's you're saying. If you sign the agreement, you're saying that it's okay for the Taliban to attack, and then you're apparently somehow going to be let free. But by saying it's not okay, no thank you, sit down. It's apparently, yeah. So then they brought an argument that less individuals will die in the war. Yes, maybe more US troops will die in Afghanistan, but it's more harmful to the USA and the people, and the harm to the USA and the people in Afghanistan will increase because they're more likely to attack, and the lack of protection in the citizens of Afghanistan citizens will reinforce their hatred towards the West. And the removal of troops, the citizens of Afghanistan, they will literally lose hope. Like when a big superpower country, they said, okay, we're going to help you, and then now, given the chance to help you, they said, no, let's pull out, It's like, at the end of the day, these are people that we're talking about. These are lives that could be saved. These are lives that grew up under this oppression, and you have the power to give them freedom, and you're not giving them that. Imagine what that feels like to a citizen living under Taliban's control for their entire life. And the last thing I would say is that apparently giving the Taliban political power is peace. How does that work? How does giving a terrorist organization that constantly berates and discriminates the people in the group, constantly kills people for their race and religion, mean peace? What kind of peace are you looking for? Because it just basically causes more people to suffer what? When you give a terrorist group political power, you're more likely to legislate laws that allow them to discriminate against people, allowing them to legalize things such as not going to school. And with that, I conclude my case.
Thank you for a speech of reply.
Side government brought three main issues in this debate. They mentioned who better helps the people on the ground, who betters out the war and brings it to a state where it's more beneficial for everyone involved, and third, about the justification of whether the trading prisoners was alright or not. So I'm going to talk about how who better helps the people. So I think it's one of the things that happens on our side is due to the fact that it's unlikely for more deaths to occur if the war carries on. I think the things that they said about how more deaths will take place if people are continuing to cause killings. I think the point is that if the war continues on our side, at least the main people that are being protected are the citizens of Afghanistan in the first place, rather than the Taliban, because these are people who will continue to spread their ideology. So in the end, the people are still being suppressed anyway, because the ideology is allowed to continue to grow on our side, on their side, as opposed to our side where it's still controlled, where it's still put to a halt, right? Because these people cannot still continue. And then who batters out this war? Although we consider the fact that I think people the killings that will occur will be considerably less on their side. I think the fact is that it's more of a gradual process in which you allow this ideology to continue. I think that's the point where you allow it to grow in power to the point where they can cause more harm than prior to signing this agreement, right? But I also think that on the topic of the prisoners, I think even though they cannot cause further harm, I think it's still unjustified because they don't face the time they needed to, because they committed these acts, whether it's in form of terrorist acts, right? But I think it's also unjustified for these prisoners to integrate back into society where they are allowed to continue to suppress people anyway and take up positions of power where they're likely to influence these ideologies even more and allow them to go into the power which they can cause harm in the entire region, right? So I think these things actually happen because now you do things such as reducing the sanctions, so you punish these people even less. But I think also because you allow these people have more support structures because they are larger in numbers, I think it's more convincing for these ideologies to be spread through the region because they also have no control over the US people. Whether the fact that the US people whether they are continuing to have oversight, even though it's in violent ways, I think this is still sufficient in order to prove that to cause that this Taliban do not continue to cause further harm to the people, because the priority of the debate should be the citizens rather than Taliban people. I think that's something that they've been established, and which is why I think that our side protects the people more than side government, but also because I think the war will be continuing in ways in which harm caused fueled by Taliban ideologies. I think the impact of this is reduced contributing on our side, and also because about trading prisoners, I think it's completely unjustified that we allow this to continue, especially at the point where people continue to go back into society, allowed to influence things even more, and allowed to suppress the people which should be protected in the first place, and these people continue to suffer under Taliban rule because even though they do not have violent acts, I think basic things such as the rights to fundamental things, I think these are things that should be protected as well, and that does not happen under side government. So this is why we side opposition. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech, Dr. Clark.
Side of opposition's case relies on two examples. The first of the WW2 example and the cockroach example that Varun brought to you. The first, the idea of World War II and why the Poland, whatever stuff that you wanted to talk about in IGs, the reason as to why that could happen is because Nazi Germany was the strongest side of that war. This means that if you're the strongest side, you have more power, you have more ability to fight back. It's not the same as this example when the Taliban is necessarily smaller than the United States. Therefore, the Taliban can't use their power in order to stop the United States or force them to not do anything else because they're just smaller than the United States and they don't have enough power in order to beat them. The second idea is about the cockroach. how does you just keep on whacking that cockroach to make you show face? And why is that showing face even important? Because if you can make a deal to not disturb that cockroach, if that cockroach doesn't disturb you, why is that necessarily a bad thing? I think they also didn't do one thing. If they don't attack the premise that we told you that even if Taliban is in power have political power, and even if they are larger in number, and because of that agreement they cannot attack you, this was something that they did not engage with and they did not want to refute. So I think it's only fair for us to assume that whatever we said earlier was necessarily true, and if it is true, even if the Taliban individuals are in power, they can't necessarily kill all those individuals. They will still have to give individuals fundamental rights that they deserve because of like basic human rights things. These are all things that the Taliban will be forced to do as the new government. So even if the Taliban is in power, even if they're a dictatorship or just not nice people to the public in general, they still need to give fundamental rights, and that is something that's generally more, it's just better under outside the house when we give these individuals the ability to do so. So even if the Taliban is in power and they're larger in numbers, they can't do anything with that, but they can just get political power. I don't see why that's harmful, and they haven't really given you a reason as to why that is true. So I think the two new arguments and the new matter brought up by the whip speaker, or at least it was clearer in the whip speech, the idea of responsibility and principle, these are all things that were already pre-rebutted under our side of the house. We already told you that principle doesn't necessarily matter if we get to save the most number of individuals. If practically we get to benefit a large number of individuals and less lives are lost and more individuals are safer, individuals in America are safer, individuals in Afghanistan is safer, I think we'll just trade off that principle if that means that we are safer in general. I think if they want to run this argument, they really need to tell you as to what that principle does and how much it harms the United States. So they tell you that the United States looks bad because they're not fighting against the terrorists. I don't see why that's even a bad thing, right? If you can control the terrorist organization in order to not fight you, why do you seem like a bad guy now? You don't seem like an individual, you don't seem as a state that who are not trying to protect your civilians, because if you're making the terrorist organization not attack you, that necessarily translates to your civilians just being safer in that state. And I think as the obligation of United States, you need to do so, and the Doha Agreement allows United States to do this, and I think it's very important that you sign that agreement. We give the benefits to the United States, we give the individuals in the United States the benefits. We ensure their safety from at least the Taliban organization. We are the better side because we give these individuals the safety that they deserve. Even if Taliban is in political power in Afghanistan, it's impossible for them to spread outside of Afghanistan because there's still US soldiers outside. Like there's US soldiers in Iran, there's US soldiers in Syria. All things that we pointed out in the POI wasn't really responded to or necessarily just wasn't clear. These are reasons as to why the Taliban can't necessarily grow like very, very big, and even if they do so, they can't really do anything with that power because of that Doha Agreement. If they want to just not follow the Doha Agreement in the future, I think the United States is completely fine with just not following it also, and then increasing sanctions and not allowing the Taliban to do things that they would have been allowed to do with the Doha Agreement. For all these reasons, now I've been proud to propose.